how do you respond to it's just a JPEG?
Utility.
Yeah,
beyond that. I mean, just think about it. So you can take a picture, and Josh will talk about this. You can go to a gallery and take a picture of a Mona Lisa. You can get a reprint of the Mona Lisa. You can have somebody create a replica of the Mona Lisa for it. You don't own the Mona Lisa, right? Now, in this case, in the real world, somebody at some gallery has said this is the original Mona Lisa. You take their word for it, right? This is a little bit different. On the blockchain, an immutable blockchain, you can't change it, right? And it's completely transparent. Everyone can see it. People can actually come and see that is the original. This is actually better than real world authenticity. And so there are a lot of Mona Lisas out there. There are a lot of Starry Nights out there. There's only one original, right? And we all have agreed that's in one place, right? Whether it is the original or not, we hope it is, but we know that isn't always the case, because sometimes some things slip through the process. And there's a very famous guy that a lot of people know about who made a living passing off his work as somebody else's work. But in this case, what we have is we know that person owns it. Now, a really interesting thing that's happening is that some people might display that. If they display it in a way that comes across as if they're the owner of it, it's easily verified that they are not. And there's all this social stigma associated with it. It's one thing to say, I love this piece of art, and not say that it is, but there's a lot of people who sort of pass it off as themselves. And then there's all this social backlash that happens. But in essence, the fact is, NFTs are amazing because you can now own digital property. In the past, it was just a JPEG, right click. They're all the same. Now we can say this one person is actually the owner. Maybe a lot of people use it, but one person is the owner, and maybe that person has copyright. Maybe he could keep people from using it if they so chose. But that's one thing that didn't exist in the digital realm and now does.
Well, the right click is actually like an actual copy. Like you can't see the difference of the actual own JPEG. So I wonder if a better analogy, correct me if I'm wrong, would be, let's say Mac and I go to a lot of Frank Black shows whenever we visit each other. We try to go to one. What if you take a picture of the ticket, right? You have a picture of that ticket. Does that mean you're getting into that Frank Black show? No, you don't, but you have a picture of it. So I don't know if that's a better way, because you're not getting into that community with that ticket. You might say you have a Frank Black ticket, but you really don't.
Yeah,
and that's the act.
Is that better analogy? I don't know. Maybe.
That's the utility that you're talking about, Josh. That's the layer, the utility layer.
You're not getting into the community. You're not getting access to all the utility and all the.
But the utility and the authenticity, right? So you can verify that is the ticket.
Well, that authenticity, that's the sort of philosophical part that's interesting, because you talk about the Mona Lisa and a picture of the Mona Lisa. What's the difference? And it's like, experientially, I don't know. We built this thing. Like, what is the difference? Like, you're looking at a picture, whatever that picture speaks to on grand, across the board human scale, can be communicated story-wise just as easily with a loyal reproduction of it.
Yes,
but it's not the one. And so that there is something of knowing that is the one. That's the human trait. We have that. I mean, that's a whole nother show of like what that means and whether or not that's exclusive or whatever. But that does count for something. I think it's also interesting to think about the idea of with blockchain, with the idea of like the provenance says that you invested in this. It's kind of like mixtapes in the 80s when you were like, or like, and I mean, like when you got a tape, you're like, I heard of this band before anybody else, kind of thing. There's a lot of that going on, I think, right? Like,
yes,
I discovered this band, like you give a tape to your friend and be like, oh yeah, I know these guys. I saw them 3 weeks ago. It's like, oh, and that kind of, that process of discovery, I think, is probably extremely exciting in the world of people who fish through NFTs and look for ones to buy, collectors of NFTs. Yeah.